All right.
Okay, now it's being recorded. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Then we're up and rolling.
All
Okay,
right.
buddy. It's fun stuff. I've been doing some research about Charles Oliveira and
Yeah.
Islam when they were going to do the fight. When is the fight set? What's the date?
Man, I don't exactly know. I think it's gonna be sometime in October.
Yeah. Same.
Sometime in October. Yeah.
So it's quite some time for them to, there's a lot of predictions out there
Mhm.
on who's going to win the fight, yeah, a lot of people. I just recently saw this interview with Joe Rogan. He had his money on Islam.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Why?
there's a lot of different opinions. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Man. I think Islam is gonna get it done. If I have to give a simple prediction, I think Islam is gonna win. And the reason is because I don't think that Charles Oliveira can knock out Islam, because Islam faced like so many good strikers. Like he faced, Dan Hooker, he faced Bobby Green, Drew Dober, like these guys. And, probably they are not the same level with striking as Charles, but Charles is like definitely not much better than them when it comes to striking. So I don't think that he can knock him out. And so probably the best way for him to win is to catch Islam with a submission. But I don't think also that he can gain a lot of top control or anything. I don't think he can take Islam down. So I think how it's gonna play out is Islam is gonna take him down and try to ground and pound him, maybe try to submit him, something like what Khabib did to his opponents.
Yeah.
And I think Charles's best chance is to catch him from a submission from the bottom. But
Yeah.
I just don't really see it happening. I think Islam is too skilled for that. I think he's gonna see it coming.
Yeah, but the other way, if you look at the record for Charles, right? I'm not saying that I'm pro Charles in this fight, but
Yeah.
uh, like he has 42 matches. That's a lot of
Hmm.
matches, man. And
Yeah.
I don't know if it's 42 in the UFC, but he has a lot of MMA fights, right? And then it's like he's on the top 6 or 7 of the most fights in the UFC.
Yeah. He
I
faced
think
better
Donald
competition.
Cerrone, like Cowboy, he's ahead of him. But you saw the
Hmm.
last fights of Cerrone; they were not too impressive, and
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
so
think
so
he's
that kind of statistics is not in the benefit of Charles. It's kind of okay. He's a little bit older than Islam, and he's had a lot of fights. But on the other hand, he had his belt removed from him. There's a fire
Mhm.
there. He's pissed off because of that. He
Yeah.
wants
Yeah,
that
for sure.
back. So that's like, every time I see a fighter that has like like a pure motivation for
Hmm.
fighting to get that stuff back, well, that's a dangerous man. When they are not just for
Yeah.
the fight, not for the, but they would just want the belt. They just in it for, I don't care who and what and where. Give me the
Yeah, for
belt.
sure. But I mean, I don't think that Islam doesn't have the same motivation. I think Islam has the same motivation as well to get the belt. I don't think he's in it for the money. I think he's in it to become a world champion. I think they have probably the same level of motivation. Like, don't you think? Or you think that
Mm.
Charles is more motivated?
No, that's actually a good point. I think the motivation is the same, but with Charles, when he has had the belt and had it removed in the way that it was, people have done way worse things and still not been stripped of the title, right? So
Hmm.
he feels like he's been done some injustice. Um,
He feels that the scale was wrong. Actually, he said that there was something wrong with the scale, and that's why he missed weight. But it's a bit weird because the other fighters, they didn't miss weight. It was only Charles who missed weight. So that's a bit weird, you know. But
yeah, we can speculate all we want in those things.
obviously,
And
we
the
don't
fight,
we don't know the truth, but you know.
yeah, in the fight world, you never know, right? There's boxing is a perfect example how dirty that stuff gets sometimes. So so you never know. I don't remember which MMA fighter it was, but they were holding the towel in front of him when he was doing the weigh-in because he had to strip all the way naked, and then went on the scale, and then he was just holding his thumbs on the towel in such a way that it was lighter than it really was.
I think it was Daniel Cormier. It wasn't he?
No, he's heavyweight. What the fuck? He doesn't need to weigh in.
No, but he was light heavyweight at that time. I think it was DC.
I don't think it was him. I think it more was like Tony Ferguson or somebody in that category, you know, somebody. But either way, you know, either way, that's, you know, besides the thing. But when it comes back to the motivation again, I think that I saw this interview with Islam, and he said, you know, he said he's gonna smash him, you know, and he didn't care. He doesn't care when, where, how, with who. He doesn't care about the fighters. So he's in there to make his legacy, you know, like Khabib did, right? And he's in there because he's not for this belt or this match. Every match, he doesn't care. He wants to be challenged in the most way that he can. And he said something that was interesting about Charles, like, hey, Charles lost 8 matches. You know, he has 8 losses. His record is 42-8, right? That means this guy has lost 8 matches. He doesn't care if he loses one more. I haven't lost any matches, so I
think it's 33-8. Yeah, but yeah, of course he lost 8 matches, you know.
And, it's 33, correct. You're correct.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, if you think about it, like a lot of Charles's losses happened, you know, when he was a lot younger. He was a lot more, you know, a lot more crazy or a lot less careful than he is right now. You know, I think he didn't really have the fire at that time, and he had all those losses, you know. Like I think his last loss came against like Paul Felder, you know.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, in December
he fucking beat up Paul Felder in that fight. You know, he almost submitted him. I watched the fight, and he almost submitted him in the first round. But then I don't know, like something happened, and then he lost the fight by TKO, like ground and pound, I think in the second. You know, but if you think about it, like now it doesn't really happen with Charles. I mean, he beat Justin Gaethje, he beat you know, Dustin Poirier.
Chandler,
he beat
Ferguson,
he beat like a lot better guys actually than Paul Felder, and in these fights, like Charles got knocked down many times, and then he still managed to come back from there and managed to like submit or knock out these guys.
Yeah, it's a really good point, because when I'm seeing the last fight, it was like, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fights. I think he's got a 11 fight winning streak, you know. So he's and every time the last fights I've seen now, like it seems like he's growing as a fighter. You know, he's more creative with stuff. You know, I saw this one spinning 360 spinning kick he had. It was so balanced, you know. As for a 3rd degree black belt guy in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and you see him doing the stand up, the spinning. And it was like nothing.
His stand up is very serious now. He's very good. He's a very good stand up fighter. I mean, you know, if you think about it, like he knocked out Michael Chandler, you know, who's a fucking great stand up fighter, and he knocked him out. So that means that his stand up is great for sure.
But also, you know, just the evolution of him as a fighter, you know, how he developed. Because I saw the spinning kick, and you know, as when I did training myself, it was like I could see that the spinning kick is the 360 spinning kick is so hard to do, because what happens before and after, you know. So when a person,
it's hard to do it properly, right?
Yeah, well, when you see a person do it that effortlessly, it's like seeing, like let's say music. Then take fucking Whitney Houston, right? She it didn't cost her a calorie to hit those notes that most singers would not be able to do, right? Because
for
it was
sure.
so talented, right? And when you see the
But
same thing in
against who
fighting,
did Charles do this spinning kick? Because I didn't see it, honestly.
I'll send it to you in a link later, but or you Google it and see if you find it. But it
Yeah.
was like he didn't hit the opponent with it, right?
Mhm.
But when he did it, it came out of nothing. And the follow up, I think it was like a spinning kick, and then he just went in for a takedown afterwards. And then transition is so smooth, you know. I don't want to put too much into that, but just seeing the evolution of being able to do that, you know. I've been rolling with a lot of Brazilian jiu-jitsu guys, and you know, their stand-up is non-existent, you know. They
Oh
can
yeah.
even hit a fucking boxing bag, you know.
Yeah.
They're killers on the
I
tatami,
mean, you
but
know, of course, it's the same thing. Like, you know, if you spar with a Muay Thai guy and you know you take him down, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
it's the ground game is not gonna be there. So,
yeah, yeah.
so of course,
So that's why I'm so impressed, because he's on a winning streak. He has a fucking mission these days, you know, and he's I think he has the most submissions in MMA history, in UFC history.
I think so. I think it's definitely on the top. I don't know. I think
And now he's moving towards having one of the most fights in the UFC ever. You know,
yeah.
Charles Oliveira. I didn't know about him until recent days. You know, because I haven't paid too much attention to that guy. But when you look at his numbers, it's interesting. But also when you're having these things, you have more to defend. You know, you have more to
Yeah,
lose.
but I think it's like Charles, you know, got famous like later on is because he started to fight, you know, more serious guys like very late in his career actually. You know, like when he beat Kevin Lee, you know, he submitted Kevin Lee. So there was kind of the time when I got to know him, you know, when I started like watching him, you know. Like before that he didn't really have any serious wins, you know, like okay, maybe he beat, you know, Jim Miller, you know, but he's not like a top level guy, Jim Miller, you know. So and he had like a lot of, you know, good fight, like a lot of famous fighters he faced before that as well, you know, like Cerrone and Cub Swanson and these guys, but he lost in these fights, you know. And so like Kevin Lee was the first serious guy that he actually beat. And then after that he just fucking went on a roll. I mean, he beat Tony Ferguson, like Michael Chandler, you know, Poirier and Gaethje the last time. So it's crazy, you know. I think
And it's
something changed in him, you know, and that's why he became this fucking monster, you know.
yeah. Yeah, and it's, you know, a personal thing is that he looks kind of weird. He looks like a skeleton face. You know, there's almost like he not to be rude, but it looks like he has kind of a syndrome or something. You know, it's too his face is a little bit square. So it's kind of awkward looking. And we look at the earlier fights. You know, he didn't have any cool style. You know, like his appearance. You know, he just looked
Yeah.
like a guy who went to the gym and trained, you know. And he looks, even in the body, the earlier fights, he didn't look as well trained as what he is now. So he's become more confident. He has found his place. You know, he has his style, and you know
Now
the
he's pretty balled up compared to what he looked like, you know. Like I watched the Cerrone fight, you know, and then at that time, yeah, he really looked like you know, like a skinny kid. You
he
know,
looked
he
like a
looked like a
nerd.
skinny kid. He didn't look
Yeah, he
like a
looked
proper fighter, but now he looks like a fucking proper fighter, you know.
like an athlete. You know, it's you know, he can
Yeah,
probably transition to another sport. You know, good conditioning, a lot of gas in the tank. You know, he's
yeah.
flexible. He is technical. You know, athletic guy. So, and he's always jumping up on the, you know, the fence after he wins. You know, these guys, when he's at this level, it's a
Yeah.
good place to be. So he has
Yeah, he's
evolved a
so he's
lot.
so passionate about it, you know. He's so passionate about this sport, you know.
Yeah.
Uh
You know, he's a favela guy. You know, he's like from the ghetto. You know,
yeah, yeah.
so I think whatever he has got, he has made for himself. You know,
Mm,
and it doesn't mean like if you look at the background, this is a little bit interesting because if you match him up against Islam, it's more like, okay, these guys are very religious, they live a very structural and a very strict doctrine, they're in a way that, their personal, like their ego when it comes to religion is held in check, because they're serving a cause, and it's quite powerful living in that way. It's like if you brainwash yourself to think you're a world champion, you're going to live a very structured life. You're going to eat, you're going to sleep, you're going to do all this stuff. And the same thing with the religion. When you're serving a higher purpose and you're just preparing for whatever comes next, it's a very physiologically well place to be, because you see a lot of people with religious beliefs. They're very structured. They don't go party. They don't go crazy after they win.
That's
How's
the thing.
Charles with that? How
about
Charles has he any history with partying or like, you've seen Connor, he lost it completely. So of course that would block Connor from ever coming back.
That's why these Dagestani and Chechen fighters, they are so good, because that's what they fucking live for. They don't care about partying, they don't care about girls, they don't really care about money even. I think they don't drink, they fucking train, and that's it basically, and then they train and concentrate on the religion, like these two things. They don't have nothing else in their lives, like Connor. I think he got really crazy after the Mayweather fight, because he made like $100 million or something. And I think that made him like too relaxed, and he started putting like too much effort into partying and like advertising his whiskey or whatsoever, just kind of making money and stuff like that. So I think he lost motivation actually in that after the Mayweather fight, because he got so rich that he doesn't have that fire anymore after that.
Yeah, old Rocky movie, Eye of the Tiger. You kind of lose that after being successful and you had these wins. And what Connor did in his career was incredible. Taking the double belt champ, doing all of these different weight categories. It's like most people won't be able to do one of these things that he has done several things of, right? So I think when you see an athlete doing these kind of a Mayweather fights, it's like, okay, he has already lost his motivation. The Mayweather fight wasn't impressive in boxing wise. So I think,
oh no, I don't know.
So no, just compared to my own situation, like at the end of my amateur fighting career, it was like, okay, it was harder to cut the weight every time you have to do the weight cut for the competitions. That was much easier before. So you're getting old in the game, and once I'm winning, I'm just winning by some few points. I'm not dominating it, but I'm having my routine. So that means I'm just kind of benefiting from a long fighting life, right? I'm not evolving anymore. I'm almost like on the exit on the freeway, fast. So that means like it's a famous saying in fighting that every fighter always have one match too many.
Okay.
Because they're not quitting on top like Khabib. That's why Khabib is such a big deal, because he was on top and he stopped.
Yeah.
Most fighters have a loss or have a fight or have get too many punches and they're like, shit, you should have stopped. Like look at
but
Muhammad
I still
Ali.
think that Khabib stopped too early. I think he stopped too early. I think that even if he continued for, let's say, another 5 years, nobody could beat him still. He would I think he already beat at that time, like he already cleaned out the division pretty much, and now he could face like Charles Oliveira. I think Khabib would beat him.
Yeah, I love Khabib's take on it though. Have you heard him?
What exactly?
when they asked Khabib, so do you think you could do this? Could you take this one out? How would you fight it? He says, no, don't say this. And the reporters say, what? No. It's their time now.
Yeah,
Don't
for
take,
sure.
don't take from their time,
For sure. But I mean, just as a discussion, it's like on the philosophical side, it's really interesting just to think about it. Like, what would happen if Khabib, didn't retire? And yeah, I think he would still dominate, but I think that the best
but
thing
it's
would have been if Khabib went to like welterweight, and faced someone like Kamaru Usman.
Yeah, I think actually that's what he was asked about, fighting him, and he said,
Oh
"No,
yeah,
yeah." But yeah, you see, it's very interesting. Like this will be this is what fight fans around the world started with. Like, who would win? That's the origin of MMA. Bruce Lee or Chuck Norris or Jackie Chan. Who would Kung Fu versus karate? That's what it was, right?
Yeah.
But I think that when you look at a fighter like Khabib, biomechanically, the gas tank, the skills, the power, everything, of course he could continue. But what is the fighter? What is the fighter without the mentality? It's nothing.
Of course.
Look at our Diaz brothers. They look like fucking bums, man. They look like bums who are drinking and hanging out at the beach all day. But they're super athletic, right? They fucking have a oxygen percentage in the body that's extremely high. They are triathletes. They go swimming, they go running, they go bicycling. They're athletes, right?
Yeah.
So when
also,
you look at,
I think they have this fucking animal mentality. They are fucking fearless. They just have like also kind of a unique mentality. I think it's like they have this kind of, I don't know if that's really an act or like that's a real thing, that's gangster style from him, from them, I mean, but especially from Nate. Like, do you think that that's an act, that gangster style, or is it like really him?
I think these guys do whatever they want to do, and what you see right now is who they are, right? But at the end of it, there's no human being on the planet who is not influenced by their surroundings, right? So if he does what he feels he have to do sometimes. I don't want to be a fucking bitch, I don't want to be a bitch because he's afraid what other people might think of him if he acted like a bitch, So maybe he does it because he doesn't want to be perceived that way or experienced that way. That doesn't mean that is what he wants to do. But what I wanted to say about Khabib was the mentality, right? And his father's not here anymore. He was the number one go-to guy, the one who created this kind of foundation, both in religion and fighting, but like his whole purpose of living disappeared when his father died.
Yeah.
So what that does to a fighter, it removes completely the mentality, the motivation, the whole aspiration of being a person that you were. Look at Mike Tyson. What happened when Cus D'Amato, his coach, when he died? He went to jail. He fell off.
But I think like Mike Tyson, like when he lost after he came out of the jail, it was because he lost. He couldn't train properly in the jail. I'm not saying that his trainer's death didn't have to do anything with it, but I mean, it was the prison that kind of broke him. I mean, didn't really break him, but you know what I mean. Like, it made him a worse fighter.
I don't agree because as a fighter, we're constantly working on improving ourselves. You don't go to the gym, do the 10 sets, and then you go home, right? You go to the gym, and when you're tired, when you're hurt, when it's painful, when it's stressful, when you don't have the money, when the girlfriend's complaining, when nobody fucking likes you at the gym, then it's easy to get these negative thoughts in your head. and you start a negative dialogue. But if you have a strong supporter like Costamado, who was fucking brainwashing Mike Tyson, you know, he was hypnotizing him, literally using hypnotism to make.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, from early age, from a teenager, right? So he was brainwashing him in a positive way, but for us a human being, it was, of course, he just wanted to tear people's head off, right? And when that person disappears, and when Khabib's father disappeared, you know, it's so easy to listen to those small negative thoughts, you know. And with these guys, history has shown us so many times, you know, we see it, the artists too, in music, film industry, when they get a lot of money, when they are on top, and if they don't have that solid structure with a good support system, with family, friends, or whatever, you know, they die, you know, they go overdose, or they kill themselves in a car crash, or, you know, because they don't have that support. And that's what I think of about Khabib. It removed so much about his desire to build that fighting life together with his father. And then when it was not there anymore.
If you think about it, like on the other hand, like when he fought Justin Gaethje, right, like his last fight, you know, his father was already dead at that time, you know, so he didn't have his father by that time. And, you know, he still looked pretty great in that fight, you know. Okay, in the first round, he absorbed a bunch of leg kicks and stuff like that, but in the second, he just took him down and fucking finished him, right? So it didn't really look like that it affected him in a very, very bad way, because, I mean, he finished Gaethje like quicker than he finished Poirier or McGregor, you know.
Yeah, but did you see his reaction after the fight?
Yeah, of course. I mean,
it was very emotional, huh?
Yeah.
A guy who's been rock solid, you know.
Yeah.
Been to.
But imagine, of course, because his father was always there for him, like after the fights, you know, like he was in his corner, right? I mean, and now he didn't have him, so of course, I think the memories and all of that, you know, just came up, and yeah, so of course that's understandable, you know.
Yeah, so I think, you know, it's that woulda, coulda, shoulda, you know. If I put in that lottery ticket 2 years ago, I could have won, but I didn't, so I didn't win, right? Khabib could have continued and fought, but he didn't, you know. And he had, you know, his issue was religion and his family situation. Conor has problem with partying and not finding his, you know, he lost his mind to the game, as he says himself. But, you know, every fighter has their own demons, you know, or their own things they need to, who will develop them or break them. I think what Khabib done was, it's like quitting smoking. I will quit smoking after this package of cigarettes. No. If there's 3 cigarettes left, quit now. What? Well, why? It's only 3 left. I can finish. It's so weird. 29 fights or 20. How many fights did Khabib have?
I think, yeah, 29-0. He was 29-0. Yeah.
So everybody wanted like that OCD feeling, the obsessive compulsive feeling of having that 30. Yeah, sound better, right?
But I mean, okay, but he retired, you know, because like he promised his mom that he will not fight again, you know, and like I don't know the real, like the real story. Like, was it his mom that made him promise, or he just promised it like that? I think it was his mom that asked him, you know, to stop fighting. And yeah, like in their culture, like the mother is like so important, you know, so of course he's never gonna break that promise, you know, like even if he gets like $100 million or something, he's not gonna do it.
True.
You know, and that's a respectable thing. But I think it's still very unfortunate that it happened this way, you know. And we're not seeing him fighting Usman or even Adesanya or someone like that, because that would have been fucking amazing.
Yeah, it would be, but there will always be new fighters. There will always be a new star. Yeah, so for me, it's much more romantic to think about what if, because I don't want to see it. I've seen too many fighters having that last fight or just the next one, just the next one. And
Mhm.
then because they are addicted to it, or because they don't know anything else, what you're gonna go work in a grocery shops, what are you gonna do after? They don't know what to do, so they always have one more fight. Have you seen the movie Wrestler?
I have not.
That's a perfect thing. This guy is like 50, 60 years old, living in his car, and he's like still waiting for him to make it through as a WWE fighter.
Right.
Never makes it, right? So
Okay.
Mickey Rourke is a
I
fantastic movie.
I gotta
though.
watch it. I gotta
Yeah.
watch it for sure.
Yeah, dark, but good. So there's a lot of people that you have in this way, though. But yeah, so yeah, back on track to Charles Oliveira. So let's kind of conclude with something. You going for Islam?
Yeah, man. I'm going for Islam.